slightly after the hour of 3, and we'll call this special session of Executive Finance to order. If we could, Mel, if you'd give us an invitation, please.
Je pense que la note à terre a été une Father, we just thank you for this brand new year that you took us through that 1 year, and we started new. We just ask that you would guide us this coming year and give us wisdom and knowledge for the betterment of the church and nation. Bless those that are attending us, Lord, and keep each and every one safe as we travel home after this meeting. In your name we give thanks. Amen.
Could have a roll call at this time.
Linda O'Leary. Bill John Baker.
Here.
Bill Angel.
Here.
Jack Baker.
Here.
Audra Corner.
Honey.
Joe Crittenden. Meredith Fragan.
Here.
Don Garvis. Chuck Hopkins.
Here.
Bill Johnston.
Here.
Taylor Keene. John Keener. Rex Bob Martin. Navon Shophouse. David Thornton. Kirk Collins Martin.
Honey.
Phyllis Surgeon.
We do have a quorum. At this time, the only agenda item is a expansion project presentation by C&E, and I assume that start off with this, sir.
All right. Thank you, and good afternoon. I want to thank everybody for their attendance. The purpose today is to allow you to get familiar with the projects that have been approved by our... Yes, sir.
If you would introduce all your staff.
Okay.
Or they can introduce themselves back here for the record.
Okay, I'll do that. Yeah, I brought the whole team with me today so that you would have a chance to meet them. They've been integrally involved in the decision-making process to help formulate a lot of our strategic plans and our business plans. So I asked them to come, so we'll just go.
And speak up if they're going to do it from back there.
All right, if you'd speak up, and we'll start with you, Mr. Roberts.
I'm Dave Roberts, Director of Security Surveillance and Loss Prevention. John Harris, General Manager of Security Surveillance and Loss Prevention.
Ken, what is that?
Ken Holloway, Senior Manager of Security.
Bob Huffman, General Counsel.
Scott Knowles, Senior Manager of Strategic Business Analysis.
Don Lavass, I'm the Chief Accounting Officer.
Peter Economo, Vice President of Food and Beverage.
Molly Jarvis, Vice President of Marketing and Sales.
And of course, my assistant, Barbara.
Barbara Knowlton, Executive Assistant.
And you know Sean, Gina, why of course you know Gina. Do you want everyone or just our staff? Okay, so if everyone else would introduce, I guess. Jamie?
I am no way affiliated with Senior.
This is for the record. Just for the record.
Cindy Handy with Government Resources, and I'm definitely not associated with him.
Gina Olaya, Director of Corporate Communications and Government Relations.
Emily Bushyhead, Senior Communications Representative.
C&B?
C&B.
Oh, that's what you do. I don't know if you
Sally Thatcher.
Oh, and I think I'm treasurer today.
Mason Morton, Cherokee Nation. Tom Elkins, Government Resources, Cherokee Nation.
I'm Mike Miller with Cherokee Nation Businesses. Travis Now, Cherokee Phoenix.
All right. I think that should do it.
That's got it.
All right. And usually when there's good communication about what we're doing, I think things go a lot smoother, and that's the reason that I requested the meeting, so that we would have a chance to communicate to you what we're doing, and also primarily give you a chance to ask us questions that you have about the projects, how we came up with our strategy or what we're doing, why, how, all of that. So as we go through, please feel free to raise your hand, just step in, and let's get the questions answered. The purpose is for you, really, to have that opportunity. So what we'll do is we'll go through first of all, some of C&E's strategy on how we developed the idea for the projects, the board, how they approve the projects, how we present to them, and then they communicate back to us and say, yes, go forward. And then we'll go over the projects that have been approved and talk about those and what they mean to the Cherokee Nation financially and also in terms of job growth. So if we start out with our strategy, we would look at really our goals and objectives. And I guess you can hear me and look that way if you'd like. State Question 712 gave C&E and all tribes in Oklahoma an opportunity to expand and generate profits and create jobs. And those are the things that, three things primarily that we look at. And the compact lasts, it was a 15-year compact. So we have an opportunity, the sooner that we invest and take advantage of the opportunity, the sooner we reward. So from just an overarching strategy, that's it. If we look at how we select projects, we look at, of course, we try to maximize dividends to the nation, so we would prioritize projects in terms of the ones that would bring the most dividends. Reduce the risk. You know, we have a lot of competition. So in some cases, we're trying to build market, we're trying to protect from competition, but overall, we're trying to reduce the risk. We would also create jobs for Cherokees. We would support the culture, and we're doing that by putting artwork and eventually create some cultural tourism opportunities for our customers to travel them around to the different facilities. We would also produce results and other opportunities. You know that we have food and beverage, we have the hotel, we have the event center. We're creating, other than gaming, and although it's not complete diversification, there are other opportunities for us to get into business, and we're capitalizing on that. Then also we build the Cherokee brand. We work very hard to let people know that we're first, we're the best, and we provide great service. And so we would ultimately, you know, at the end of the day, it's all about building that brand over time. Then also we would protect or build market share depending upon the markets that we're in. So if we look at, say, Roland, that would have a little bit different strategy than Catoosa. So we have tailored the investment strategy and what we build according to what market exists and the competition. Okay, so a little bit of history with C&E. If we look at 2002 on the bottom left-hand corner, we go up in revenue. If we put our actual history and results, we started out at 25 and ended up last year at almost 100 million. So you can see that we've had a steady increase in growth. We're doing the right things. We have a proven track record of accomplishing results. And if we look at the expansions as a whole, this is what the projected profits would yield over time. So you see the continued growth pattern, and then we see a leveling off, which would tell you that we've taken advantage of the market, we've saturated the market, and we feel like there would be some leveling off. So you've heard people talk about, well, where's the saturation point? Although we don't know where it is, we would project it to be approximately in 2009 where we would level off. But the good thing is you're leveling off at a very high rate. You'll notice we're up at around 150. Okay. So then if you look at the expansions as a whole, we would look at dividends without the expansions. And we're just assuming it's 30%. There's some debate over what that should be, but we've just assumed that. And then if we look at the 30% dividend, if we do the expansions over time, that would be an additional $116 million. And then if we look at the profits, which really this is what I believe we look at. This is the Cherokee, whether it be C&E or not. We would create $1.3 billion over the compact
versus $1.7 billion. So that's a total $188 million increase per period of compact. You can see that, and that's after we pay back the facility. So this is actually an increase after we get net income, which has depreciation in it. So it would be close to payback, okay, because the depreciation rates might be a little longer, but it's very close to what would be after we pay off. And then if we look at jobs, our job since 2002 up to 3,000, and then you see where this takes us up to the 4,000 in 2009. So the objective of creating jobs over the long term, we feel like is significant. It continues the trend, not only job in gaming, but also in corporate support, the IT, food beverage, and some of the other jobs. Now, this is a little more complicated part, and what this is the investment that is accomplished, what we're talking about. So we have investment in 2004 in the facility at Catoosa. It went down, and then it's getting ready to ramp back up in 2008, build all the facilities, and then it ramps, it goes back down. And you get capital outlay from 2009 forward through about $30 million. That's really just to keep the thing going. Ongoing capital need, you have to spend of what we do. And that was that blue bar in 2010 out. And then you can see the line go up. Line is profits. So the green line has reached its peak there in 2009. You can see the difference over time between green bar and bar. That is $188 million cumulatively over the life of the compact. Let's go back to that one. Down, and then the top line is static, which is consistent with profit. I'm just going to hold there for a minute. We've already covered quite a bit. Any questions about any of the numbers or? Okay. So the primary purpose of this chart is to really show the inverse relationship between investment versus profit. So you invest early, get the capital invested and get it producing. Capital investment goes down, and then the income goes up. So what I didn't want you to think is that C&E is going to keep investing these kinds of dollars over the next 15 years. So there is an end to the capital investment plan, and that would peak in 2008. Now, at the end of the presentation, we're going to show you some cash flow that would say, during that 2007, 8, and 9 period, we are going to need to borrow some money. And Callie will be involved in that process. We've worked with C&B. So we will need some credit line available during that period, and then it would essentially go down. Okay?
The green bars, operating cash flows, and you look at 2003, 4, 5, and 6. I understand that there's an impact there from the Oakland investment.
Right.
What information do you have that is going to lead you to believe that that trend is not going to hold where it's spending now without these sides of blue investment?
Okay, there's 3 reasons, and they all have to do with different properties. If we look at West Siloam is a tired property. It's been there since the early 90s, and basically you have to create a property that people really want to go to increase. We've tapped it out right now, I believe. We are not going to track a different kind of market, a bigger market, unless we put a facility over there that's going to increase market share. So the decision could be, stay right where you are, don't build a new facility, and keep that, because we've seen gradual increases, but we don't see an opportunity to jump it into the next level without a capital outlay. And we've proven that by Catoosa. When we built Catoosa, we saw a significant jump just because we had a good facility. So we think that same rationale would apply. Now, in Catoosa, it's a little different because we have competition. We have other properties that are building. And also, when you consider the geographical location of our customers, they're very close to competitors. So that if we don't build and go over the top, then we would be subject to potential loss of customer base as a result of that lack of investment. So although a different reason, we feel like we're going to have to go over the top or we're going to lose market share.
This is, I love to start, there's a wealth of information. I would like to see what would that do if we brought it back further to where the real impact of the $70 million that was made in the season. How did that affect prior history of green bars? Because I know we were, way down, and there was a lot of factors that were affecting the level of operations that you guys were maintaining, that not the control, but compactors and things like that. But it's amazing to me, 3, 4, 5, and 6, you could almost lay a ruler on it.
Well, if you took it back previous to 2002, you would see, I think, that would go down and then level off flat for about 10 years.
And there would be the result.
Exactly. That's exactly right.
That's
We've seen
why
that.
what leads us to believe that if we don't look at the blue investment in those 7 if those are not made, what indicators are telling us that trend, which is almost a straight line, is going to flatten?
Well, because we've seen, if we look at trend, which trend is really the best information you have about telling the future. We've seen higher increases in income over those years than we've seen, in fact, in the past 12 months. So those, although they're going up, the same store sales, like if you just look at your same store, those would be smaller percentage gains. So we've seen over last year to this year, we've seen about 20%. In the previous years, they've been higher than that. So we're seeing some decrease. Also, we've seen that you really have to have something new and different to substantially change market share in this business. That's just the way it is. If you don't have any new amenities, everybody comes and they eat your hamburger. If there's not a new hamburger when they show up the next time, that's all you get. So you always have to be reinventing your casino and changing it, and also going over the top to make it better. So if you look at, of course, West Siloam, I think, is an easy one because you have a big market that you can grab. But you can't grab it unless you have the property. The other areas like Salisaw, Tahlequah, those are fixed market shares. You couldn't build a bigger facility in Salisaw and get more market. So you build to the market. But what we believe, where we've recommended investment here, is there is additional market to capture as a result of the investment, not just build it for the sake of building it.
And I understand.
Yeah.
Leveraging it,
right. And you tap it out, and you don't do it anymore. So that's part of our strategies. You max it out, and then you cap it. And that's why you see the investment bar go down, because we don't expect to come back and say, we're going to spend another $50 million unless things are just going great. I'm not going to say we won't, because, we're doing great, and we may just continue that. But the plan is, at least here, until this year we don't. All right? Okay, now I would like to go into the approval process that we go through with our board, and to give you a flavor of how much work that goes into this, and to know that it's not just a project that we just come up with an idea and present it to the board and they go, yeah. That is not how it goes. We have a 3-phased approach to our approval process. Phase 1 is where management looks at the property and we go, we think this is a good idea based on what we know about the business. So we would present to the board project concept. We would present initial cost estimates. We would present the potential financial impact based on our preliminary knowledge at that point. And then they would authorize us to move to the next level and go to the design process and further research process. So they authorize us to spend money, although limited amounts of money at that point. Phase 2 is we would complete architectural drawings in a first draft form. We would have revised cost estimates, because every time you redraw, you get better at it, you know what you're going to build. And then you have better economics, because you keep figuring out, what the market is and more analysis. And then they would authorize us to go out and get final architectural drawings. They still believe in the project, we believe in the project, and we're going to go to phase 2. Then phase 3, and these might take 6 months as a process. It's not something that happens 1 month, 2nd month, 3rd month. This might take a year. In fact, West Side Loan took a year for us to get final phase 3 approval. So phase 3 are the final architectural plans, firm capital costs, numbers that we believe are accurate and willing to put our name on, and then the final project economics that we would be judged on over time. And then they would authorize a capital expenditure. Now, we've gone through that with 3 major projects, that whole process. Some took a year, some 6 months, some a year and a half. Okay, so 3 projects that have been approved based on this are Roland at $26.6 million, West Siloam at $83 million, and then Catoosa at $124 million. Now, if we look through, and Molly, of course, she's in charge of looking at the marketing and all of the market sizes, so she's available here if we have any questions about market size and what we think that market's going to do. But if we look at the criteria on the left, those were the criteria established by the board. And then we look at how that fits in that criteria. Roland has a 17% return, pays back in 5.5 years. Now, 17 is not as good as the others, but we have a limited market in Roland, right? And we're capitalizing on the I-40 location. We have some competition there. We need to go further signage and make it a little better. It creates 100 to 125 new jobs, and goes through, it's Travel Plaza. It has the inn that we bought, and then we're going to have an expanded food and beverage. So a new restaurant will be on the front side of the casino. Of course, we attract new customers with the Travel Plaza and take advantage of the I-40 location, and it actually protects and increases market share based on those 2 elements. We look at West Siloam, $83 million, a whole different marketing approach here. We have a 21% return, 4.4-year payback. It creates 300 jobs, and of course, everyone knows that the Northwest Arkansas market is just, it's an incredible growth rate. And the good thing is, the good thing is that people are moving into the area from out of state to support all of the companies that support Walmart. So we feel like we have kind of a new breed and an opportunity to get those people into our facility if we had a good facility. Right now we don't. So we're going to put some live entertainment. We're going to have a steakhouse, be similar to a Twister, kind of a bar there, and then more games in a much newer facility. So at the bottom, build market share is really to penetrate that market. And then Catoosa, on the other hand, different. And we really believe in Catoosa because it's a metro area. We've built a good brand. We're first to market. And we feel like there's additional market share there to capture if we have more facility to do that. Otherwise, we feel like we would lose a significant market share if we just sit there. We protect our market share. We create new jobs. We stay first in the marketplace. The event center is going to be sit down about 1,000 people. Dinner, expanded live entertainment, more restaurants, a bigger buffet. Of course, we build the brand, and then we protect market share. There's something there. Okay. Yes, they are. They passed legislation, and does anyone here know the exact terms of the legislation? Yeah, I think they authorized charitable bingo, which still puts you back to Class 2, back to the Indian tribes that have reservation in Arkansas, which is extremely limited. I mean, that may not even be, I don't know. No. So I don't feel a threat there. Hot Springs has, I think, video lottery, but they're so far off that, long ways, doesn't really give us competition. So we feel like the market is ripe for us to take advantage of that.
You asked part of the question, but 420 new jobs, where will these people, what's going to be due before you deploy that?
Okay, we're going to have, of course, 200 new hotel rooms. Okay, we're going to have an event center that requires banqueting and food and beverage. Also have live entertainment, so we'll have some support for that. And then we'll have additional gaming space. Okay, so really a little bit of everything that we have now will be spread around those 400 jobs. Now, one of the areas that we felt like would be important to you as we manage the money is how are we going to manage the project? Because this is a significant amount of money. You know, if you add all that up, it's in excess of $200 million. So what I want to do is give Sean a chance. Sean is in charge of managing the construction projects. Of course, several factors weigh in. We're more experienced as a company in doing this. Okay? We did it once. We learned from it. We made a few mistakes, but it was the right thing to do because we were first to market, and obviously the financial results were good, so we did the right thing. But we've since come up with a different approach to it. And Sean, I think I'm just going to let you handle this part of it. But we have added some additional expertise and experience to our team that allow us to manage these projects and allow the company to keep focused on what we do, and that's make money in gaming. So, Sean, if you want to take a few minutes.
Yeah, good afternoon. Just want to make sure for the record that we get clear that we're not affiliated with Jamie Hummingbird either. So, as long as everybody's on the record. But yes, when Dave asked me to kind of oversee what we anticipated in terms of expansion, we looked internally and we have a construction department, but it was really not staffed or equipped to handle multiple projects of this size. We had done the original expansion at Catoosa internally and ended up having to make some changes there at the end to get the project finished. And so as we talked about it, we felt like we needed to supplement what we had internally with some external professionals that do this for a living. Two reasons. One was just to make sure that we didn't make any major mistakes, and two is we wanted an extra pair of eyes that were experienced in cost and estimating projects and things like that to kind of look over our shoulder and make sure the numbers that we had for the project costs were reasonable before we went into it. So we surveyed the Tulsa area, and a firm came to light by the name of Matrix Odell. They were the firm that was chosen to head up the arena for the city there in Tulsa, and they're currently doing this type of work for the city of Tulsa, overseeing the construction of the downtown arena that's there. When they interviewed with us, the lead person there was an architect by the name of Curtis Smith, and Curtis was one of the project architects on the Venetian in Las Vegas. So he'd been through the casino build out several different times with different projects, and we had a good comfort feeling with them. So we engaged them, and their main focus is to day-to-day help us manage the projects that we have ongoing, with the exception of the Roland Travel Plaza, which was already in progress when we rolled this out. So they're in charge of the Roland, the casino construction, the West Siloam, and the Catoosa expansions. And kind of the way it works is Matrix Odell is engaged by C&E, and then they are our rep to oversee what is being done by Flintco and also Thalden Boyd. They provide an on-site manager at Catoosa. They provide all the scheduling consultants, all the cost estimators, and design review. They go through an extensive peer review on all of the architectural designs that Falvin Boyd has, whether it's mechanical, whether it's the structural, or just whatever blueprints they have. They give those a review. I think as a result of that, the last number I had, that they had recommended changes that had saved us about $800,000 in this initial 3 to 4 months of review process. So I'm glad they're on board. They're a professional organization. They deliver to us a bi-weekly expansion report that goes out to all of our executives, and it gives a status of the projects and what's coming up and outlook on schedule. Those schedule dates will change as each week goes by and the projects mature. A little bit about them. They've established companies with 85 years of experience in design on their professional staff, construction, program management services, hospitality and gaming is Curtis's area of expertise. And the main thing that we've got is their ability to manage multiple projects simultaneously for people. And that's really the big thing here. Is we've got all 3 projects that will end up dovetailing each other. We've asked them to make their priority making sure we finish on time and within budget. And we're working diligently with that. I'm kind of overseeing at the top. We have Curtis Smith and Bill Hirsch with Matrix Odell that report to me. They're the managing principals of Matrix Odell. One of their charges that we have asked them to put into their work programs is to mentor our construction people. So we've got our construction department basically reporting to them on this project at West Siloam and Roland, and letting them lead those people through how they review things, so that when we come through, we'll have some good experience within the company. They are providing the on-site manager at Catoosa. They also oversee our testing and inspection of each of the project phases that is independent of our architect and Flintco. Kevin Ogle, Steve Parks, who's in our procurement, and Jerry Crew, who's in contracts and works for Bob Huffman. They're all an integral part of this. And then we have the architect of record, which is Chief Boyd. Mike Kerr is assisting him and works for Chief Boyd. And then we have he has engineering consultants on the mechanical, electrical, and low voltage. Flintco is the construction manager that we've used, and Rex Wood is the pre-construction manager that basically handles our account right now. On-site construction for Flintco, they have a representative in a trailer area at each site, and they're there every day. The gentleman that they've hired at West Siloam to be the Flintco project manager was the project manager for the MGM Cityplex, which is currently being built down in Las Vegas. He lived in Gentry, Arkansas, and for family reasons decided to take this opportunity to stay home. He was flying to Vegas and back twice a week. There was a real hardship on his family, but Mark is bringing a lot of experience on the Flintco side from a gaming perspective. So I feel like we have a good team to make sure that internally we get this handled and done right. Thank you.
Yeah. If we look at the impact on C&E in terms of capital needs, this is a condensed cash flow statement, and we've spent some time with Doug talking about this, and of course Callie has been involved acting as a team to develop the approach to obtain the financing for the projects and CNB and the whole group. So basically, if we, and these are just assumptions, if we use $15 million at CNI to pay off their debt is at a higher rate, it all ends up that we need about $47 million. Right now we have about 30. We started out with 40 and then it's been a decreasing line. So really what we need is about 10 million more than we needed for the last project. Now the last project we only needed it for about 3 weeks, but we feel like we're going to this time. So we've requested a line from Bank of America at $50 million, with an additional $25 million available upon Tribal Council's approval, because while we're going through this process, we need to have the capability to have additional capital should we need it for either diversification or additional expansion, whatever. And it's available, but we felt like we just didn't want to have a pile of money out there, and then there would be some check and balance there from the council's part that it would only be available upon approval by the council and additional resolution. And those are available in $5 million increments. In a minute, I'd like for Callie to come up and talk about the C&B perspective and the cash flow perspective. But a couple of things. So that's the end of the presentation, essentially, up there. A couple of things I want to mention. The work that goes into figuring out what the market is. There's a lot of work that goes into these numbers. I mean, we have spent a significant amount of time on consultants and outside research to determine how big the markets are, what we think the income is going to be, just so that it's not just us. Okay, we have gone out to third parties and done research and done our own research and done more research, almost to the point of, too much, but there can't be too much research, So we feel very comfortable with the numbers. The board obviously is comfortable with the process and what we've gone through, or they would not have approved it. So, so that's kind of that's the dog and pony from C&E's perspective on the project. Any questions about the mechanics or the board process, the projects themselves? I do have some renderings. If you'd like to see those, you may have seen them before. But we'll keep you updated on as we go on all of the projects as they become a little more, firm in terms of all that. If we look at the conclusion, the expansion creates an additional $388 million over the life of the compact, creates 650 new jobs, and gets us where we need to be. So I'd like to turn it over to Callie. You come up, Callie. I guess we need to just huddle up jointly on what we've done together to work on the cash flow and our needs, because ultimately our parent company, C&B, has the ultimate authority about that, and also from the tribe's perspective. So.
Yeah. As several of you are aware, we started this process in trying to come up with a 3-year capital plan for all of our business entities early in '06. We had a board meeting in September where everyone, C&E, C&I, C&B, had pretty well put together their wish list, and here's what it would cost if we did everything that we saw out there for the next 3 years. At that time, we would have needed to borrow a little over $200 million to do all those projects. Working with David and Brian and sharpening our pencil, we went back, we revised our estimates, and I think we have a pretty solid capital plan now. C&E is poised to take advantage of their market, and with short-term borrowings of $50 million, I think we can accomplish that over the next 3 years. I think it is a good plan. Right now, C&E has an existing line of credit of, I believe it's $38 million. This would increase it to $50 million. Our best terms on borrowing are to just negotiate with Bank of America and increase the existing line of credit. the offer from Bank of America for an additional $25 million gives some flexibility, but that would still come back to tribal council. What I'll be working with David and his crew on is a resolution to bring to the next DNF meeting requesting council approval to negotiate that $50 million line with Bank of America. So if you have any questions from the cash flow perspective, I'll try to handle them. Normally we go through an RFP process. From a business perspective, we have the existing line. It just makes sense to add that additional $12 million to our existing line rather than delaying the start of some of these projects another 60, 90 days to go through an RFP process. So that was why we're proposing to stay with Bank of America, who gave us the line of credit. They kind of went out on a limb for us in '03 and '04 on somewhat of an unknown, and we could go through an RFP process. I don't think we'll get any better deal.
I would hope we would regularly go through.
We do regularly. We do normally go through an RFP process. This is somewhat of a unique situation because we have an existing line of credit.
There are several things that play into that. One is the negotiation of the waiver of sovereign immunity that this council has already approved. So that was one issue. The other issue is the ongoing day-to-day banking relationship that we have and the cash deposits. And all of that transaction is a very fundamental reason for staying there. But I understand your point. In this case, it did also come back with a much more favorable rate over what it was before. So those were kind of the three factors.
And I appreciate that we got additional advantages for us also staying.
Yeah.
Because we're at the point where we do have those options.
Exactly.
And I think to create our own power.
No. I mean, for example, at the Nation, anytime we have funds to invest, we put it out on what we call a telephone bid. We call everybody who's on our list of approved institutions and say we've got X number of dollars to invest for this length of time, and we get the best bid that we can. When we were preparing to get financing for the health care clinics, we put out a formal RFP. I think we had 4 banks that bid on that. So we always do an RFP unless it's extenuating circumstances like this where it's just very advantageous for us to move forward with an existing relationship.
Kelly,
Yes.
from what they threw up on the screen, it was total cost over the next 3 or 4 years is $238 million. Is that correct?
That's for the 3 major projects.
3 major projects. And they've got $60 million in cash that is unreserved that they could use for this.
Yep.
And they get $40 million a year for the next 3 years. And they've got a $38 million line of credit. That pretty well covers it. Doesn't have anything else extra in it, but that pretty well covers the dollars. I guess my question is, C&B is sitting there with $30 million a year, which is another $100 million. And why would we not borrow from ourselves? Or do you have something in mind that is going to pay back better than what they're doing?
Those 3 major projects that David presented are just his 3 major projects. On this cash flow statement, that is just C&E's uses. There is nothing in there for C&B.
Yeah, I think to clarify, this assumes that all of the cash flow stays at C&E. This does not take the 40% and give 30% where there's that 30% sitting at the C&D level for 3 years. That money
That money is
from-
going into C&E.
Their board has approved that to stay in C&E for these projects. So there is no additional funds in the entities other than this.
So we really ought to be looking at all the projects instead of the three major ones, is what you're telling us.
Yes.
Right.
I mean, if you look at this cash flow, its total cash uses, has other maintenance capital, smaller projects.
There's another 100 million someplace.
Right.
Okay.
Right, over the 3 years.
And that is where?
Okay, that would be several places. One is our maintenance CapEx, which we spend just improving our facilities ongoing. There's funds in there for us to purchase games. There's about $16 million in there for us to do that, which creates a significant return. Purchase over lease is a good decision. And there are a few other things, but there are no out of our core business expansions taken into account. In other words, we don't have a $10 million number in here for projects we don't know about. Okay? These are all projects we pretty much know about, we know we're going to have to spend, and it's not in pie in the sky. Is that?
Okay. And C&B's board's okay with spending the money this way?
Yes. The approach we've taken at C&B, again, the Jobs Growth Act stipulates that a minimum of 40% of C&E's income stays with them for expansion projects. The key word there is minimum, and we have not said, C&E, you transfer 30% of your net income every month. That's why we took this total approach look at it. On the total cash flow, if C&B has opportunities that we need to take advantage of, that's where we would come back and say, council, we may need to kick this up for the additional $25 million. This particular cash flow is only for C&E. It is to meet their needs, plus the requests on C&I. That's all this is.
Which was 10 million?
Yes. 15, I'm sorry.
I don't have that in front of me. I guess it was
And that's just purely a financial decision that we can get a much better interest rate.
We're just replacing the government guaranteed.
Right. I think C&I's interest rate is prime or prime, what's the one? Like 8.5? Okay. Prime is 8 1/4, so it must be prime plus a quarter. The Bank of America proposal is based on LIBOR, which is always a lower rate. I don't know what it is off the top of my head, but I think we can save at least 2% a year on that. And that's money back in our pockets, rather than paying it to the bank.
Doug?
Kelly, it looks like with $240 million of capital expenditures for this project, and the other things coming in the next couple of years, it looks to me like there's a large emphasis on the complement of cash flow coming in. Very simply, cash flow 8% in the year or year before.
Right.
With that, what contingency plans do you have if for some reason hiccup occurs, we don't have those cash flows? In other words, we get that unknown separation point early, or some unknown hits us, and instead of getting 120 million net income, we get 100. Where's that 20 million made up if it's not room for
25 million. I mean, that's what, it can go for any purpose. If we come back and say, you know, gaming has done this instead of this, that's the idea.
There's such a large emphasis in this capital, funding this capital plan on C&E capital. So we have to have a high level of expectation that those capital is going to be there when 80% is funded through the operation, 20% is the revolving line of credit, keeping all the projects out. Then can we face an instance where this body is put in a position where a hiccup occurs and they've got some significant increased borrowing size?
If you look at the cash flow, and you haven't had a chance to really get into it, but if you look at it, it maxes out at certain months, okay, at that $47 million range. So any kind of an extension of that over the 90-day period, and then you can notice that in a year it's paid back. All it takes is 1 year to pay that back. So the sensitivity of that and the critical nature of what you're talking about is very unlikely that that would ever happen, because if you just pushed it out 90 days or 120, you're done. The 10 or 20 won't hit you that quick. So I think
I saw that at the end of the third year, you didn't have a balance.
you're done.
Right.
See? So all you have to do is accordion that out a little bit, and you're okay. So I don't think there's any risk of that. If we do have some risk, we had the $25 million to do that, and also we would have a decision on the 15 and C&I. We decided that wasn't the thing to do. We could do that.
Well, with a professional management company, managing multiple projects simultaneously, we're capable of a situation where an operator will get because of the 60-day delay on it.
No, it won't do that.
Right.
It will not.
Yeah.
Up that line.
Worst case, can happen, but I think that this is a pretty conservative projection.
Is that?
Other questions or comments?
Okay, I'll turn it back over to David.
Okay, well, really wrap up, what we would like to do, like Callie suggested, is that we would come with a resolution for the credit line. It would be very similar to the one you've already approved in terms of the waiver of sovereign immunity, the terms are better, and so on. And that would then be subject to approval at a council meeting. It's not, a critical, it's not a hot burn item, but we do need to be working on it and getting it done. So anyway, I'll just open it up. I mean, now's the time to ask critical questions on the project.
Oh, I had a constituent want to know when you're going to expand Tahlequah and Fort Gibson.
Actually, Tahlequah is probably not under consideration for expansion for a while. Fort Gibson actually is, and would be, we would get through this round of expansion, get shovels in the ground, and then we would look at an expansion at Fort Gibson. I firmly believe we need more games there, and we can't really take advantage of that market right now.
Johnson.
Can you give us an update on the Roller property?
Actually, we have not been able to haven't heard anything back from them. So we're anxious in position.
Mom, you have heard back on
Oh, they did. Okay, so that's updated, so that's good.
We're talking lease property, is that it?
Yes.
What about 100-year lease? What?
It would be, I believe it's a 5-year term with renewable 5-year options. Right. So that project, of course, that's another one that we would bring to the, our board, and then if we did need additional capital, we would just, C&B would look at it, we would look at it and say, is that something we want to do? We think it's a good market.
And the portable casino that you had at Tahlequah, that's not something that you can leave up there?
Well, actually, we donated those to Head Start. So, I think they're already moved, and lights are on and water's running.
Okay.
Okay, well, that really concludes. Anything else? We'll...
Jack Bob.
Thank you. This is pertaining to the project we talked about. You're on.
Fair game.
In the public, you think it's going to go, you know for a fact that probably the most competitive part of our business that we have. But the question is, all the competition that we have in that area, how do you stay on top of the competition?
Well, Jack, yeah, we do, but I'd rather save that for an executive session if possible. If that makes any sense.
Curiosity going.
Yeah. I'd rather.
Jackie, Bob,
just-
you can buttonhole him outside.
Yeah, we'll visit about that a little later. Satisfy your curiosity, if that's okay.
Any other questions or comments?
Okay, appreciate it. Feel free to call questions.
Ron Garvin, please. I got a motion.
Thank you very
I got a
much
second.
for your time.
All in favor, say aye.
I have a question.